Welcome. If you're an Android developer, you've probably heard about Jetpack Compose. It's the modern toolkit that's changing how we build UIs on Android. Today, we're diving into the top 10 Jetpack Compose patterns every developer should know. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your Compose journey, these patterns will help you write cleaner, more maintainable, and scalable code. Let's explore how these best practices can transform your workflow and make your UI development smoother and more enjoyable. Before we jump into the patterns, let's talk about why they matter. Jetpack Compose gives you a blank canvas, but without structure, your code can quickly become chaotic. Patterns help you avoid spaghetti code, reduce bugs, and make your UI easier to test and maintain. Think of them as your toolkit for building robust apps. With these patterns, you'll spend less time debugging and more time creating features users love. Start with state hoisting. This pattern means moving state up to the parent composable and passing it down as parameters. For example, a counter composable receives the count in an onIncrement callback from its parent. This approach makes your UI stateless, easier to test, and less prone to side effects. By hoisting state, you keep your components reusable and your codebase clean. It's a foundational practice for scalable Compose apps. Next up is Unidirectional Data Flow, or UDF. In this pattern, data always flows down from the ViewModel to the UI, while events flow up via callbacks. Composables observe state and user actions bubble up. This clear separation makes your app predictable and easier to debug. Think of it like parenting. You give instructions and the chaos, events, finds a way back up. UDF is essential for building reliable, maintainable apps. Slot APIs are all about flexibility and reuse. With slot APIs, you accept content as parameters, similar to children in React. For example, a FancyCard composable can accept any content and display it inside a card. This pattern promotes design reuse and makes your UI components highly customizable. Your teammates and your future self will thank you for using slot APIs. Integrating ViewModel with StateFlow is a modern way to manage UI state in Compose. Expose your state using StateFlow in the ViewModel and collect it in your composables. This approach avoids the pitfalls of LiveData and ensures your UI reacts to state changes efficiently. It's a robust pattern for managing complex state and keeping your UI in sync with your data layer. Splitting your composables into stateless and stateful versions is a best practice. Stateless composables handle only the UI, while stateful ones manage logic and state. For example, a PasswordInputField can be stateless, receiving the password and onChange callback. This separation makes your code clearer, easier to preview, and less surprising. It's a simple way to improve maintainability. Scaffold is your go-to pattern for structuring screens in Jetpack Compose. It provides slots for common UI elements like TopBar, BottomNav, and FloatingActionButton. Using Scaffold makes your layouts consistent and easy to manage. It's like ConstraintLayout, but much friendlier. With Scaffold, you can focus on building features instead of wrestling with layout code. Derived state of is a powerful tool for optimizing UI logic. It lets you create derived state that only updates when its dependencies change. For example, you can use derived state of to check if a form is valid based on email and password fields. This pattern saves recompositions and keeps your UI efficient. It's a small change that can make a big difference in performance. Remember, Savable helps your state survive configuration changes, like device rotation. By using Remember Savable, you ensure that important values, such as user input, aren't lost. This pattern is essential for a smooth user experience, especially during those stressful deadline weeks. It's a simple way to make your apps more resilient. Keyed effects with launched effect allow you to run side effects only when a specific key changes. For example, you might load user data when the user ID changes. This prevents unnecessary recompositions and keeps your app efficient. It's a targeted way to handle side effects in Compose, ensuring your code runs only when it should. Custom modifiers are your secret weapon for consistent UI. By creating your own modifiers like default padding, you avoid magic numbers scattered throughout your code. This keeps your UI code dry, don't repeat yourself, and much easier to maintain. Consistency in modifiers leads to a polished, professional look across your app. Let's quickly recap the top 10 patterns. State hoisting, unidirectional data flow, slot APIs, ViewModel with StateFlow, stateless versus stateful composables, scaffold, derived state of, remember savable, keyed effects, and custom modifiers. Mastering these will help you write cleaner, more maintainable Compose code. Each pattern addresses a common challenge in UI development, making your apps more robust and your workflow more enjoyable. You might wonder why these patterns are so effective. They're built on years of UI development experience and best practices. By following them, you reduce bugs, improve testability, and make your code easier to understand. Patterns bring order to the flexibility of Compose, helping you avoid common pitfalls and focus on building great features. Let's see state hoisting in action. Imagine you have a counter composable. Instead of letting it manage its own state, you move the state up to the parent. The parent holds the count and passes it down, along with an onIncrement callback. This makes the counter stateless and easy to test. It's a simple change that leads to more predictable and reusable components. In a typical Compose app, your ViewModel exposes state, and your composables observe it. When a user interacts with the UI, events bubble up to the ViewModel. This unidirectional flow keeps your app's logic clear and manageable. It's especially useful in larger apps where complexity can quickly get out of hand. Slot APIs shine when you want to create flexible UI components. For instance, a card composable can accept any content, allowing you to reuse the same card for different purposes. This pattern reduces duplication and makes your UI more adaptable to changing requirements. By integrating ViewModel with StateFlow, your UI stays in sync with your data layer. For example, you might expose a UI state from your ViewModel and collect it in your composable. This ensures your UI always reflects the latest data, and you avoid the quirks of LiveData. It's a modern, efficient way to manage state. Consider a password input field. The stateless version receives the password and an onChange callback, while the stateful version manages the password state internally. This separation makes your code easier to test and preview, and you can reuse the stateless version in different contexts. Scaffold makes it easy to structure your screens. You can define a top app bar, bottom navigation, and floating action button, all in one place. This keeps your layout code organized and consistent. Scaffold is especially helpful for apps with complex navigation and multiple UI elements. Suppose you have a form with email and password fields. Using derived state of, you can create a derived state that checks if the form is valid. This state only updates when the email or password changes, reducing unnecessary recompositions and keeping your UI snappy. When users rotate their device or the app process is killed, remember savable ensures their input isn't lost. For example, a name field can use remember savable to persist its value. This leads to a smoother user experience and fewer frustrated users. Imagine you need to load user data when the userid changes. With launched effect keyed by userid, the effect only runs when the ID changes, not on every recomposition. This keeps your app efficient and prevents unnecessary network calls. Let's say you want consistent padding across your app. By creating a custom modifier like default padding, you avoid repeating magic numbers everywhere. This makes your code dry and your UI visually consistent. Small details like this add up to a polished app. Adopting these patterns brings many benefits: cleaner code, easier testing, better performance, and happier users. You'll spend less time fixing bugs and more time building features. Patterns are the foundation of professional Compose development. Without these patterns, it's easy to fall into common pitfalls: tightly coupled code, hard-to-test components, and unpredictable UI behavior. By sticking to proven patterns, you avoid these traps and keep your codebase healthy. State hoisting isn't just about moving state up. It's about making your components reusable and predictable. When you hoist state, you can easily test your UI in isolation and reuse components in different contexts. This leads to a more modular and maintainable codebase. Unidirectional data flow keeps your app's logic simple. By ensuring data flows in one direction, you make your app easier to reason about. This pattern is especially important as your app grows and more features are added. Slot APIs let you build highly flexible UI components. By accepting content as parameters, you can create generic building blocks for your app. This reduces duplication and makes your UI more adaptable to future changes. ViewModel and StateFlow integration is the backbone of modern Compose apps. It ensures your UI stays in sync with your data, even as your app grows in complexity. This pattern is reliable, efficient, and easy to test. Separating stateless and stateful composables makes your code more modular. Stateless components are easy to test and reuse, while stateful ones handle logic. This clear separation leads to a more maintainable codebase. Scaffold is more than just a layout tool. It brings structure to your screens, making it easy to add common UI elements like app bars and navigation. This consistency improves the user experience and speeds up development. Derived state of helps you optimize your UI by only updating when necessary. This reduces unnecessary recomposition and keeps your app running smoothly, especially in complex forms or lists. Remember, savable is crucial for user experience. It ensures that important state, like user input, isn't lost during configuration changes. This leads to happier users and fewer support issues. Keyed effects with launched effect give you precise control over when side effects run. By tying effects to specific keys, you avoid unnecessary work and keep your app efficient. Custom modifiers help you enforce consistency across your app. By defining your own modifiers, you ensure that spacing, colors, and other styles are applied uniformly. This leads to a more professional and cohesive design. When applying these patterns, start small. Refactor one component at a time and gradually adopt more patterns as you become comfortable. Over time, your codebase will become cleaner and easier to maintain. As Jetpack Compose evolves, so will these patterns. Stay updated with the latest best practices and adapt your code as needed. The Android community is always discovering new ways to improve Compose development. There are many resources available to help you master these patterns. Check out official documentation, community articles, and open-source projects. Learning from others' experiences can accelerate your Compose journey. Understanding these patterns can also help you in job interviews. Many companies look for developers who can write clean, maintainable Compose code. Demonstrating your knowledge of these patterns sets you apart from other candidates. When working in a team, adopting common patterns ensures everyone writes code in a consistent way. This reduces onboarding time for new members and makes collaboration smoother. Patterns are the language your team uses to build great apps together. Patterns like State Hoisting and Stateless composables make your code easier to test. You can write unit tests for your UI logic without worrying about side effects. This leads to more reliable apps and faster development cycles. Patterns like derived state of and keyed effects help you optimize performance. By reducing unnecessary recompositions and side effects, your app runs smoother, even as it grows in complexity. A codebase built on solid patterns is easier to maintain. You can add new features, fix bugs, and onboard new developers with less effort. Patterns are the foundation of long-term project success. Jetpack Compose gives you a blank canvas and endless possibilities. By mastering these top 10 patterns, you'll paint masterpieces instead of spaghetti code. Happy composing. Remember, if your UI recomposes too often, it's probably your fault, but now you know how to fix it.